Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
94.7 The Pulse. This is the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. My name is Neil Butler. The other bloke, he's Rob Cameron. And that's a song called Raining on the Rock by a chap called John Williamson. And if Rob has pressed the right buttons, I'm going to say good morning, John, with his fingers crossed.
Morning, fellas. How are you?
Oh, we're greatly relieved to hear your voice. Sometimes that doesn't work. Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. We're absolutely thrilled to have you on board.
Oh, it's nice to be with you, fellas. Thank you.
Now, we go back to 1970. A young man walks into the studios of Channel 9 with a guitar under his arm and a song that would probably best be described as a novelty song. And here we are 51 years later, an absolute legend of Australian music.
Yeah,
you got 20 minutes, off you go.
Amazing thing is, it's still one of the most requested songs. You know, it was the first song I ever wrote, Old Man Emu, and I thought it was going to be easy after that, but it took me 16 years really to come up with a hit album, which Raining on the Rock was one of the songs off it, the Mallee Boy album. But yeah, Old Man Emu, it's the nice thing about it, it gets the kids still today, so it just recycles forever.
So, John, when you wrote that, were you just literally a bloke with a guitar having a bit of fun and then, I suppose, tasted a bit of that being successful, which led you into the, I would call, more serious country music writing?
Well, up to that point, as I said, I'd never written before, but I was pretty serious about, guitar and learning songs, for a long time. I went to school. My last 4 years of school, I went to Scottish College in Melbourne. And a group of fellows and I got together and formed a group at school, and we were really into the folk music, and that was huge in the early 60s in Melbourne especially. You could go to coffee lounges and stuff, and there was, Judy Jarks and Judy Durham and all these sort of people singing folk songs, and I loved it. Being from the bush, it appealed to me more than rock and roll, because it was basically about country, about places and quite peaceful stuff. So, then I went back to the farm after school, and by then I was reasonably good on the guitar, because Dad taught me to play the ukulele when I was a kid, so it's always been a part of my life. But it wasn't until I actually attempted to write a song, which was really an answer to Time Me King Guru Down, really. And, I wanted to do something Aussie. Back then, you really had to write novelty songs for anyone to take any notice. We really didn't take ourselves seriously. But by 86, with songs like Cootamundra Wattle and Raining on the Rock and all that, we were prepared to listen to ourselves more seriously, I think.
And I think another contemporary of yours, Johnny Chester, had a crack at doing some of those things with Highway 31 and those sorts of songs, but they were very much few and far between, weren't they?
Yeah, and as I said, if you wrote, a song called Shut Up Your Face, or Emu's Kicking Your Dunny Down, or
Melbourne and Sid and I,
Have a Be Your Duncan, it was a bit hard going trying to, everyone used to sing with American accents except for a handful of us, but that's quite normal now, thank goodness. I think Missy Higgins and Paul Kelly and people like that are real Aussies,
So one thing about your heritage, you're a proud Quambatukian. Is that what you would describe someone from Quambatook?
A Quambatuki.
We'll run with that. There was another fellow that came out of that part of the world who had a bit of...
I'm very proud of Quambatook. In fact, apparently they got a little walk around Quambatook, the couple of houses that I was brought up in, and the school and all that sort of stuff. It's a pretty humble little town, but I still love it. It was a great town for a little kid to be brought up in. And my mum and dad had their voices trained, even though they were wheat farmers. They sang very seriously, and Dad had a singing group, and he played banjo in the local band. My uncle played fiddle. So I was always surrounded by music. One of us had to turn out that way, I think.
And the other fellow that grew up in that town, his name was Ian, as I recall, but these days known as Molly Meldrum.
Yeah.
Were you guys at school together, or?
Young. He was. I think he was in his early teens when he left Quamby.
John, musicians get into moods apparently when writing, and it's interesting that the body of work you've done, which probably makes your live performances so good, is that you do cover a lot of genres. There's a bit of novelty, there's a bit of funny, naughty stuff, but there's the stuff that I really love, and you mentioned Cootamundra Waddle, Galleries of Pink Galahs, Raining on the Rock. We've heard these beautiful Australian ballads that tell a real story. That's the work I really love. Are they the ones that mean the most to you, looking back, and the others are just part of what you need to do?
It sort of sometimes annoys me a bit that some people come along to hear just the funny stuff, and I use funny songs as a kind of a commercial break, I suppose, in amongst the more serious stuff. I have a lot of sad songs, of course, as well, like Wrinkles and Bushman Can't Survive. There's a lot of songs that are quite sentimental, but I don't have any support acts with me, so it gives me a chance to do quite a lot of songs over, I think I'm on stage with the two halves about 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Wow.
So it gives me a chance to do, those ones you mentioned are always in the show. There's a skeleton of songs that people come to hear, but then I can move the rest of the show around to suit wherever I am, So if I'm in Queensland, I've got a lot of Queensland songs, and vice versa in West Australia, and in Victoria, well, quite a few of mine are naturally Victorian. Mallee Boy is a Victorian song, but I try to keep up with the times a bit. I've got a new song called "The Great Divide," which is how we all felt during the COVID. The low point in COVID,
And there's the other ones, probably the more, let's call them political songs. Rip Rip Woodchip was a song that resonates really well through, let's say, the greener end of the Australian world. And do you write them with passion?
I love Rip Rip because it's pretty commercial. The chorus is pretty easy to... You'd be surprised, farmers, anybody, they all... I guess they understand the principle behind the songs, and it's just that we've got to draw the line for our nature in this country. We just kept going. I'm an ex-farmer. We cleared a lot of bush, and it took a while for us to realise that we'd gone a little bit too far, and I think everyone appreciates that now, and Rip Rip is still very popular. It's probably in my top 10,
Yeah, and the fact that you travel in daylight hours around this great country, going around to do your paid job of delivering music, you probably got to see some parts of Australia that not many of us have. And does seeing those parts just inspire you to put them into song?
Oh, it just consolidates my love of an amazing country. I mean, it's an amazing world, and this is our part of it, and it's our responsibility, and we're very lucky that we can travel for days and days without having any borders to worry about. And, I guess I'm celebrating about every night in the shows that just how lucky we are to be born here, and if you've come here to live and become an Aussie, I think it's a real privilege for all of us. And, I think the more you fall in love with it, the more protective you become of it, And it doesn't mean we don't have our good... as a farmer, I think we've already cultivated the best areas now. We don't need to keep going any further. And it's same with the forest industry. We've already claimed a lot of the bush into commercial forests, and I think the rest should be left for what is the most unique thing about this country. It's the nature of it, the animals and the birds. Bird lover since I was a kid, and that just gets stronger for me. I'm talking to you now on a cliff top in southeast Queensland above the Gold Coast, overlooking a huge valley, and I'm surrounded by birds and bush,
You're coming to visit us in Geelong. That's the reason for the call. I think it's May 28th. So people can get tickets. And I just want to assure people, if you've heard a couple of John's songs and you really like what he does, the live performance is fantastic for all the reasons we've seen. I saw you in Colac a few years ago, John, and I imagine your show is similar in that you mentioned you've got such a broad body of work that it's not 2 hours and 20 minutes of the same. There's quite an extraordinary cross section of the industry you cover.
On the journey, mate. I've got songs from all over the country, and it just depends on where I am. You know, I don't make my mind up exactly what songs we're doing, and probably till the night before, and I'll swap things around a bit. Or the band will say, "Gee, it's about time you did this song or that song," or I usually, when there's no COVID, I sign autographs after the show, and that's when I find out the songs I should have done.
Yeah, everyone wants to give you feedback, don't they, after the game?
Yeah, and some people have their favourites that are quite off, you know, that I wouldn't expect. You know? And you think, if I get enough requests for that, or you know, people whinging about me not doing it, I'll throw it back in. But it's with 500 songs, it's pretty hard to know which ones to do other than the obvious hits.
Well, it'd be an easy way to sell tickets. You know, yeah, tomorrow night I'm at Colac. I'll do it in the third song in at Colac. Buy a ticket for that one as well. One of the things that fascinates me about someone like you, John, and others, you know, in your industry, you know, for Rob and I, we head down to the I assume it's a GPAC, is it the concert here, and then you know we watch you and we go home. We're all very excited, and I think it was Jackson Brown who had that song about the loadout. You know, you pack it all up and you get in your car and you head off to Warrnambool or somewhere. Does it get just mind-bendingly boring in terms of that, or is it? How do you keep yourself motivated?
Well, that's. As I said, it's very enjoyable. If you know, as long as I can see the front row, you know, and I've got quite a lot of songs that mean a lot to people, you know, like True Blue, for instance, and even Galleries of Pink Clouds. There'll be farmers in the front that have lost their farm, or Cootamundra Wattle, where you know that someone might have lost their child. True Blue, they might have buried their mum and dad. But that's the sad part. But then there's the smiles and all the rest of it. You can't go on stage without being enthusiastic, mate. It's and they're all my songs, so it's kind of very gratifying. You know, more so than you know, you radio fellas. You don't actually see the reactions. I'm getting that every night, and you know, I'll do it as long as I can do a good job, mate. You know, I'm winding back, but I certainly I'll only leave when I'm really not doing the job that I expect of myself. You know.
So the concert tour is called Winding Back, and I took that as being a little bit, you know, not final, but certainly, you know, winding back. Yeah. The intention is to continue to perform beyond 2022 when that tour finishes?
I think by then I'll just do the bigger ones, the festivals and the bigger venues. Sorry about this thrush in the background.
No, it's very, very, very authentic.
I was going to say, it just epitomises what you're about, I would have thought.
But there's some big venues that I've always loved. You know, there's one at the Gold Coast Twin Towers that's right on the border there, Tweed Heads. Well, I can do 2 nights at 900 each there, and the casino in Melbourne, and et cetera, et cetera. I'll probably wind back to do some of the bigger ones in 23, but depends. You know, I think my biggest enemy is going to be arthritis in the fingers.
Yeah,
and also. You know, I just might lose the lines every now and then, which is very annoying. I know Frank Sinatra and Dolly Parton and that they have monitors on the floor so they can look at the lyrics, but I think once you start relying on that, you've got to give it away.
Just sort of think about Glenn Campbell during the week, and that's how he did his last tour, exactly that way. Cause
I hope I can avoid doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Twin Towers, of course, is a bit risky because, you know, given the way COVID is, maybe you nip out to the loo and you come back and the border's closed, you may not be able to get back to the stage.
Yeah, well, I had 11 months off, but one thing that made me realise that I can go back to it after that. I used to panic about not working for 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
But having 11 months off made me realise that it's just like getting on a bike. You know, you have to train the voice for about a week, and it's a bit rusty to start with, but I can assure the Geelong people that I'm well and truly back on track now.
Good on you, mate. A little hypothetical for you. One of my favourite all-time albums, The Travelling Wilburys, where 5 icons of the rock industry got together on what was just a relaxed weekend. The guitars come out and they produced 10 songs in 48 hours, basically. If you had an ideal campfire setting, who would your 4 favourite artists that you've met or listened to that you'd like to just sit around a campfire and jam with?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Willie Nelson would be one.
Yeah.
And probably Stan Costa, who wrote 77 songs for Slim Dusty. Mm-hmm. He's gone now. Poor old Stan. He wrote, you know, He wrote Fire of Gidgee Coles and Three Rivers Hotel. And
Love Three Rivers Hotel.
great Aussie standards, you know. Who would I sit around with? You know, I think that's. You know, I'd like Harry Belafonte, but I don't think the campfire. Bob Marley, maybe. But,
Yep.
Eric Bogle. There's lots of people. But I actually have a campfire on stage. It's obviously a mock one. Otherwise, the fire department wouldn't be having it. But it relaxes me, and you know, I've been saying lately that I always believe that if a song doesn't work around a campfire, it's not good enough. In other words, it doesn't need a lot of production if the lyrics are there and it's a good melody, you know. But I do have a three-piece band with me, but you know, they play around me and not drown me out or whatever.
Yeah, and we missed out again, Rob. I thought when he was only coming up with three, we were going to be the other two blokes around the campfire, but we missed out.
No, he needs an audience.
To go the other end of the spectrum, you're obviously synonymous with the performance of Waltzing Matilda before a whole stack of sporting events, and other events as well. If you
True blue at the AFL at last.
I'm with you on that in terms of my preference, I can tell you. But if you could perform either True Blue or Waltzing Matilda in front of a crowd at a sporting event you haven't yet performed at, what would it be?
Oh, well, I think I've done them. I've done the rugby league grand final. I've done the AFL grand final. And I've done the Bledisloe Cup. And I've done the Olympics, so I don't know what's left.
World Cup soccer or something?
Yeah, World Cup soccer, but I'm not into soccer, so that.
No, me either.
It seems to me they've got to make the goals wider so they score more.
That would help. Oh dear. So, what do you do when you're not doing music, John? Have you got some real passionate hobbies?
Well, can you hear that?
Yeah, we can. We love it. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I've got a mirror out there, and this thrust comes in every day and tries to find out where the hell this bird is. The other
always there, but never anywhere else. Funny that.
Yes, but it makes it sing. I tell you. I've got this property. It's 180 acres. It's mostly subtropical rainforest, but I've developed a venue here. I do once a year. I've had to cancel last year, but it holds 200 people, a big shed, and I've got all the memorabilia, and I'm forever maintaining it, and it's looking better every year. You know, I put more things in. I've got sculptures and stuff around. I had a 30-ton excavator and a 6-wheel drive truck drag some rocks onto my paddock to make it interesting, a bit of a Stonehenge, and I've got, you know, dinosaur-sized emus as you go down to the shed. So I've got plenty of creative things I do rather than growing veggies, and I've got a few heifers. And
So if you head down to the Surfers Broadbeach part of near where you live, do people walk up to you in the street and say, you know, "G'day, how you going?" Or do you wear a false beard and sunglasses so they don't annoy you? What's the go?
Oh, look. You know, the other day I was wearing a hat and a COVID mask, and I walked, and I thought, this is the good I can really. And the bloke said, "How you going, Jono?"
Yeah, your voice might give it away if he's standing behind you in the shop.
Recognised me, and he said, "Oh, mate, you'll have to have your head cut off."
Well, that'd do it.
But still, I'm on the stage. It's funny, the whole COVID. I don't mind being recognised because I think Aussies they're decent. They don't annoy you. You know, a lot of people look at you sideways and don't want to bother you. You know, but when they do, they're always nice to me, and I make a point of appreciating their comments. They usually saying "love your stuff" or something like that. Well, how could I complain about it? But
or I saw you last week and you didn't do "Under the Bridge." Now, I reckon that was your second single. Am I right? "Under the Bridge."
He's a bit much more subtle, you know.
Yeah. No, I've got I think two of your tracks are on a record at home called 20 Fable Chartbusters. What's
it called?
20 Fable Chartbusters. It had "Under the Bridge."
Oh, God.
And something else, I can't remember, but it was backing out Knock Knock Who's There with Liv Mason's on. It's one of those kind of albums, an absolute beauty. I've got it on vinyl at home.
The old Fable Love, yeah, old Ron Tudor.
Yeah, because he was the one who sort of gave you a kick along, wasn't he?
Oh, well, he jumped on my bandwagon.
No, I was trying to be nice to the poor man.
He was an obvious hit. When I went on New Faces, he was hanging around signing cuts, so I signed you know, 50% over to him straight off, you know, which I was pretty green.
Yeah.
Took me ages to get Old Man Emu back, actually. But I don't think it did him any harm grabbing Old Man Emu, so it was a mutual thing, you know.
Yeah.
He was fun to work with in Albert Studios in Albert, near Albert Lake or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Albert Road in South Melbourne.
In South Melbourne, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fond memories. I've done a lot since then.
John's coming to Geelong, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get on board. It's at the Geelong Arts Centre, Friday the 28th of May. You're at a sold-out show in Warrnambool the day before, and then heading back to Warrnambool on Saturday the 29th to do a 1 p.m. show. There's still some tickets available for that, so if you're wanting to spend a day in Warrnambool, you can catch up with John at a 1 p.m. show. But the Geelong Performing Arts Centre, or Geelong Arts Centre as it's called now, Friday the 28th of May. Tickets are still available, and I can assure you from past experience, if you love Australian music, this is a ripper because there's so many different angles that you'll get in 2 hours and 20 minutes from one artiste. At your age, John, is an extraordinary physical performance as well, so good on you for still doing it and making people smile, which is what your intention is.
Mate, I feel lucky that I'm still well enough to do it. I actually think you get better at it, you know, even though it gets a bit harder to do. But as a performer, I think all the entertainers get better as they get older. I guess I'm less nervous, and I really realise that it's I'm not trying to make it anymore. It's about getting out there and giving the people a great show, and I love it. It's I feel very lucky that I'm able to do it, mate. Thank you.
No worries at all. We will certainly be there to listen.
Everybody, when I get down there.
Excellent. We're just taking some hope in the fact that we're going to get better as we get older, because we're pretty ordinary so far.
Yeah, we've got time on our side. John Williamson, thank you so much. This town is full of people who love you, and hopefully you'll get that feeling on the 28th of May when you come down here and play your tunes for us.
Thank you, lads. I appreciate the call.
And we're going to go out with True Blue, but not the usual version. This was recorded on the Sydney Opera House with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
2011, I think.
I recorded in a studio with the orchestra.
Oh, okay. Because you performed at the Opera House as well, didn't you?
So I have another version we did in the Opera House, but not on the steps.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We recorded that, unless you've snuck one in there.
No, it's all good. No, it's the one off your Sydney Symphony album.
In the Opera House with the Sydney Symphony.
Yeah, excellent. So a different take on the song that we've all come to love. Thanks for joining us, John, on 94.7 The Pulse. All the very best with the tour.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, mate. All the best.
There he is, John Williamson, absolute legend of Australian music. We're going to go out with True Blue.